I'm so excited to be with you. I love the week that we've had together. We've been unpacking this idea. It's personal. And this idea has really been built around these 5 questions. Do you know my name? Do you know what matters to me? Do you know where I live? Do you know what I've done? And do you know what I can do? It just reminded me of one of my favorite moments in Scripture. It's Luke chapter 5. It's the moment where Peter first decides to follow Jesus. You know the story? There's this massive crowd of people who are there to hear Jesus teach. And he knows that the crowd would not be able to hear him, so he gets into Peter's boat and he says, "Hey Peter, would you push off from the shore a little bit so I can use the water to amplify my voice and speak to the crowd?" And so he preaches this message to the crowd, but when he's done, he turns his attention to Peter and he says, "Peter, I need you to take me out of the shallows now," in the words of the late, great Lady Gaga, "and I need you to start rolling in the deep," in the words of the great Adele. And so Peter takes him out into the deep water, and Jesus says, "Okay, Peter, let your nets down for a catch." And Peter responds to Jesus, "Well, Jesus, I've been fishing all night and I haven't caught anything. And if you know anything about fishing, you don't fish in the middle of the day, but Jesus, okay, if you tell me to let my nets down for a catch, I will." So he drops his nets, and Scripture says he catches a boatload of fish. In fact, not just one boatload, 2 boatloads. His friends have to come and help him, and they fill both of the boats with fish. And it's in this moment that Peter realizes, oh, this isn't just a rabbi, this isn't just some teacher, this is something more. Jesus, who are you? Away from me, I am a sinful man, I cannot be near you. And I love the way Jesus responds. Peter, don't be afraid. I know who you are. I know what you've done. I knew who you were before I got into you. No, Peter, don't be afraid. And then he says the statement that changes Peter's life forever. "Peter, I know you've been a fisherman, but from now on, you'll be a fisher of men." He reaches into Peter's heart and he pulls out his potential. And he shows Peter is capable of more. Isn't that moment that we want for all the children and students that we serve? That moment where the light bulb goes off and they realize exactly what they can do and what God can do through them. And I'll tell you what blows my mind. What blows my mind is that the creator of the universe, the God who knows all things, forms all things, can do anything and does not need us, allows us to be a part of these moments with students where the light bulb goes off and they see the potential that God has placed in them. We get to be a part of that. But if we're going to steward it well, then I think it requires us to do the 3 things that Jesus does in his interaction with Peter. The first thing Jesus does is he gets in the boat. So he gets in Peter's boat. I love this idea because getting in their boat requires us to get out of our context and get into their world. It requires us to show up to their games, to their recitals, to their plays, to their rehearsals, to their family functions. It requires us to not just show up on Sundays, but to be present Monday through Saturday. Getting in the boat is understanding what matters to them and then making it matter for us. Jesus gets in Peter's boat. When we get in the boat, we have an opportunity to really see the potential in the next generation. I spent 4 years as a high school pastor at a church here in Atlanta. And towards the end of my time, there was just this question that kept rattling around my mind. I think it's relevant for what we're talking about. This was the question that I couldn't stop thinking about. What if we spent less time trying to get students to show up at a church and we spent more time training volunteers to show up in their lives? What would happen then? I think what would happen is that we would raise a generation of leaders who get in the boat with every student and then they're capable of seeing the potential in every child. Jesus got in the boat. I know that you're going to walk out of here and be extremely busy, and the reality for each and every one of us is that we can't get into every student's boat. And we personally, by ourselves, cannot speak to every student's need, and we can't call every student to more, but we can do it for one, couldn't we? So what if we did that? What if we walked out of this door and we just picked a person and got personal? What if we did that? Just pick a person and get personal. Can you imagine what that would look like? I'll show you. Do we have that picture of, this is Scott and Lacey and their incredible family. Scott and Lacey served as small group leaders in the ministry that I led for 4 years. And last summer, we were at our summer camp, and Lacey was talking to one of her students named Morgan, and Morgan was telling her about some stuff that was going on in her house that was a little bit concerning. And so Lacey brought those things to our staff, and we sat down with them. Turns out that Morgan, the student who came to Lacey, was living in a foster home. And there were some things happening in the home that were not appropriate, and so we had to call the state and make a report. And so we call the state, we make the report, we get through the rest of camp, and we get back to our church that morning, and all of the buses pull in, and her social worker is waiting for her, car filled with everything that Morgan owns. So Morgan gets off the bus and gets in the car with her social worker, and the social worker begins to take her to a group home. It's one of the hardest moments for me in ministry, until I saw what happened next. I watched Lacey get in the boat with Morgan. I watched her choose to leave her house early every Sunday so that she could run by the group home and pick Morgan up and bring her to church with her every Sunday night. I watched her invite Morgan to their house for family dinners, but if that wasn't amazing enough, I watched her do that week after week after week, and then she identified that Morgan had a need that was so much bigger than just showing up to church, that what Morgan really needed was a family. So she went home to her husband, Scott, and said, hey, I think we have to do more, and they prayed about it and came to the conclusion that they needed to go through the fostering process together. And so they became foster parents, so they could foster Morgan through her senior year. A couple months ago, I got a chance to baptize Morgan. Yeah. And I listened as Morgan described her foster family as her mom and dad and her 2 little sisters. And if that's not amazing enough, let me tell you what's so amazing about this story in Morgan, and then I'll be done. According to statistics, Morgan is 2 times more likely to get out of school suspension than any of her classmates. She's 3 times more likely to get expelled than any of her classmates. She should have an average reading level of that of a 7th grader. She has a 50% chance of graduating from high school and only a 20% chance of getting into college. I saw Morgan last week. She ran up and hugged me and smiled. And then started telling me how excited she was for this fall as she starts her first semester at the University of Nigeria. Morgan's beat every statistic. And it's because the journeyman's got on the boat, spoke to her need, and called her to more. Here's the deal, it only takes one person getting personal for a kid to reach their potential. And that person could just be you. Thank you.